respected leaders and brothers, sisters. Indeed, you give me this opportunity talk, but for me, this seems an opportunity meeting number of my old friend. So I really enjoy this meeting. So naturally, I cannot see my face myself, but I can see my friend's face. Last few years, some change. So then, I myself also must change. I think some of our old friends, since our last meeting, now today, although same person, same body, but one important organ of human body, that's because a gallbladder, now no longer there. So my physical, not so complete. I just want to share some of my old friends like that. So indeed, I'm very, very happy. Now, lecture. I don't know what I should say. But as you all already spoke, my main sort of interest and commitment is promotion or make better awareness about our inner value. Because I believe a lot of trouble which we are facing on this planet, I feel that we very much emphasis about external sort of things and neglect about our inner potential. Here I have something to say. I think the last 4,000-5,000 years, the concept of religion, concept of faith, develop or come on the planet. Then people very much relying on faith, prayer. And whenever we're passing through some difficulties, we always pray. But sometimes some real effect. Most cases, not much effect. Then last few centuries, I think 2 to 300 years, 2 to 3 centuries, the science and the technology develop or start. Then through technology, many of our problems, which previously, in order to overcome these problems, just put our hope on faith, prayer. Now, technology actually, bring many of our sort of wish, many of our requirements, and many problems reduce, like health, different illness, and also communication become much, much easier. So immense help for knowledge, for physical comfort. So people naturally showing more interest about science and technology, truly faith about science. Anyway, I think truth found through scientific research can prove. But mysterious levels truth, difficult to prove. Sometimes it's beyond our sort of today, I think human intelligence or human mind. So in any way, recent centuries up to I think the later part of 20th century, I think we very much sort of relying on material values. Then later part of 20th century, I feel it's two factors. One factor, those people from, the materially highly developed sort of area or country, and then material facilities, and everything there. Yet, among these people, gradually found material facility alone will not bring inner peace. More money, more power, more stress, more anxiety, more fear. Even among the friends, trust, too much sort of desire, too much greed, money, power. I think trust sometimes becomes difficult. Too much jealousy, too much suspicion. So result, more money, more power, more bigger name, well, individually more anxiety, more fear. This is one factor. Another field, the scientific sort of field, scientific research field. The modern sort of scientific sort of research, and not research, I think, not research about the human brain. These things are highly developed. And medical science also now highly developed. So people who involve these fields now gradually realize some phenomena which is formless. Usually we, day by day, we experience that we call mind or consciousness. With that, a lot of different kind of emotions. Now for medical sort of science, for health, good health, and also as a preventive measure for illness rate. This mental state is something very crucial, very important. And then more knowledge, more research work about the brain work. So the involvement of mysterious sort of factor, phenomena, as I mentioned earlier, consciousness or mind, also you see now becoming something very crucial factor. So, through experiment, test, through training of mind, actually change our brain's cell now actually taking place. So begin to feel there is some mysterious things not yet fully explored in scientific field. So a number of scientists, mainly in America and Europe, and also I think here in India, some now really taking interest about mind, about the relation, mind and brain, and how to tackle mental problems through training of mind. So, some universities in America, as far as I know, mainly Wisconsin University, Emory University, Stanford University. These three universities, actually, now last few years, you see, carrying some program, further research about relation, mind, brain, and through training of mind, how much sort of was the effect on our mind, on our brain, and also through training of mind, how much change the human behavior, human views. So through experiment, through their test, research work, actually, before carrying some sort of training, they check blood pressure, amount of stress, and some other thing. Then, after a few weeks training, again check the significance of the result. Blood pressure reduce, stress level of reduce. Then more important, the social interaction improve. Result, individual person get much more calm mind. So therefore, I simply, try to make more awareness the importance of our own inner potentials. These potentials from birth already there. Whether rich, poor, educated, uneducated, with faith or non-believer, no differences. Or rajas, or president, or prime minister, and beggars, same. We have same potential. Worthwhile pay more attention about our inner value while we are carrying these sort of material development. Material development also is very necessary. But in the meantime, no point to neglect about our inner potential. So that's my main, interest or main commitment. Then, what is the main potential? Our warm-heartedness, which biologically we equipped because we're born from our mother, and we grown up with tremendous sort of mother's care, mother's affection. And the person who received that kind of sort of affection at the time of just after birth, after just birth, the next few years. So that person also has the potential to show affection to others. This does not come from religion, religious faith, not through education, but mainly biological factor. Therefore, those individuals who receive maximum affection at the time of very young age, I think the whole life, for their whole life, they show more affection to others. Those people who at the young age lack of affection, that whole rest of life, person become more difficult more cold. I often telling people, if we carry some research work on this planet with those people who later create a lot of problems in the society or in the country, if we carry lots of research, what kind of their early part of their life, so what kind of situation, I think there may be some connection, the early period of their life, some kind of difficulties, painful experience. So they gradually develop a kind of person who always look other a little bit some distance, with fear and distrust. Persons who receive maximum sort of affection early period life may be more open heart, more easier to reach out to other people. So the way, now here, so you see today is many problems. Actually, our own creation. Many problems, man-made problems. Yet, nobody wants problem. Community level or individual level. So then answer is too much negative emotion. Once you see negative emotion become very sort of strong, then you yourself cannot control. So often, without sort of, yes, often I think when our mind dominated by those negative emotion fully, and we truly become slave of destructive emotion. Because you see, we generally consider these destructive emotion as about our mind. Oh no, and lack of sort of knowledge. We can change through training, through awareness. So therefore, I usually try to explain the possibility of reduce this destructive emotion. Firstly, the emotion, like external matters, some very useful, very positive sort of things, and harmful, poisonous things. So similarly, in our mind, the world of mind, so many thousands of different sort of thoughts, of different minds, different emotions. Some are very, very also useful, like warm-heartedness or strong sort of compassion, really brings inner strength, self-confidence. That reduces fear. And through that way, you can relate with other people openly, transparently. Through that way, you get, as you mentioned, smile. If you sincerely feel others as human brothers, sisters, nothing different. And no matter whether someone introduced or not, as soon as I saw that person with one head, two eyes, same, we human being. Physical level, same. Through that way, brain level, same. Emotional level, same. Mental level, same. And most important, desire, achieve happy life, same. And 100% same. Nobody wants a problem. So understand that. Oh, obviously, you get some kind of sense of concern of their well-being. So my way of approach these values not relying on religious sort of or religious belief. I am Buddhist, and I explain these things purely secular way, not relying on Buddhist sort of teaching or Buddhist sort of text or some Buddhist text. Simply, I use a common experience, a common sense, and then latest scientific finding. So that's my way to promote this inner value. So important is awareness. Now, why we need some sort of effort that? One way, our modern education system, very much materialistic sort of education system, about matter and the thing which can measure and calculate. Mind, emotion, you cannot take measurement, but through experience. So far, you see, in the scientific field, when this about subject, about mind, these things, is something different field. So scientists just only, you said, look, external things. But I think up to recently, the scientists not investigate the scientists themselves, but only external things. So now time comes, the scientists themselves now trying to investigate what is scientist, what's the being, what's the self, what's the emotion. It's very relevant in our day-to-day life, our happy life. Now I think everybody has the experience when our mood good, and even some trouble news comes, you feel okay, isn't it? When our mood bad, and even good news comes, you feel, oh, that kind of thing. So very much sort of related because of that, because related, our basic mental state, calm, peaceful. And many problems we are facing, we can handle this problem more realistic way, more logical way, and more realistic sort of attitude there. If things are really difficult, then with reasons, with realistic approach, patience, tolerance, and forgiveness, all these things come. Too much sort of anger, too much suspicion, these things difficult to practice. So therefore, the inner peace. Everyone have the potential, make effort. Oh yes. Now while I'm sort of explaining something I forget. Now the reason, the very existing education system, I think too much emphasis about external things, lacking about education, about our inner values. And then another factor, usually when we talk about moral ethics, and many people have the impression moral ethics must be based on religious faith. Then it becomes very narrow. I think, frankly speaking, no religious tradition, no matter how sort of, good, it never can be universal. Moral ethics is universal. Now I think on this planet, material development really highly developed now, rapidly developing, like China, and also India. Meantime, a lot of corruptions. So obviously, due to lack of moral ethics. without moral ethics, no self-discipline. Without that, whenever you find opportunity, you do different things. So laws may not control fully unless development of self-discipline based on moral ethics. Now, frankly speaking, now here I'm my talk in India, in Delhi. So many, my Indian friends, I consider myself as a son of India. And of course, the chela of Indian Guru. 1,000 years, we sincerely study, practice, follow Indian Guru's thought. So I usually use this explaining. We are not only chela of Indian Guru, but also quite reliable chela. Because the last several centuries, the Buddhism in general, particularly Nalanda rich tradition, philosophy or concept, is very much damaged in their own original place. A lot of ups and downs. During this period, we Tibetans kept intact these rich philosophical sort of thought, views. We not only sort of study, but also implement in our day-to-day life. So it is quite sufficient reason to say we are a reliable chela of Indian Guru, isn't it? So, and then also, you see, I describe myself as a son of India. I think 2 years ago, one occasion, I met some overseas Chinese sort of, media people. So one Chinese seriously asked me, why you mentioned, describe yourself as a son of India? And I told him, look, my brain, every part of every cell of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. Then this body, last 50 years, survived by Indian dals, Indian rice. So therefore, mentally, physically, I become son of India. that person, I think, is understand that reason. So then he showed me something, I think some agreement like that. So as a son of India, I want to tell, to express frankly, with respect. When I heard immense sort of corruption in China, and that when I felt that's okay, because they are non-believer. They believe power, money, only that. Then look at in India. Generally, I think comparatively, this nation, more religious-minded sort of nation, isn't it? I think many Indian, I think from early morning, worship in the front of Shiva-lingam or Ganesh or Saraswati, Saraswati, like that. But in the meantime, not much concern about corruption. So recently, I'm telling my Indian friend, there is no third sort of way. Either remain believer with because of the God-fearing survey, God-fearing faith to Lord, and with that, your daily life must carry according to that faith. Or if you really want corruption, banned, abandoned way about your faith, then carry as a non-believer, worship money, and carry corruptions. There is no third way. Faith towards God, towards Lord, meantime, without moral principle. How can? Only way. So, the corruption by, suppose, religious-minded person is really a disgrace. So, of course, this is not criticism, but I really feel some sort of concern. India, most populated nation, and very rich culture. And because of that, since India became independence, very, very stable nation here, compared other neighboring states. Some complaints from here and there, understandable, and also some troublemaker, also say understandable, but basically, still India kept the spirit of non-violence, ahimsa, and the spirit of religious harmony. I think India is the, almost only nation where all major world traditions live together peacefully. So India, I think, really, from the size, most populated democratic country. And India must succeed. So all these little sort of, how say, drawbacks, I think you should address seriously. Then about minority. Of course, India, huge country. I had the opportunity to visit different part of India, South Indian, different script, different language, and to some extent, I think, certain little different sort of cultural heritage, and then North Indian as well, East Indian, West Indian, different sort of language, different script, but all live peacefully, harmoniously, because of democracy, rule of law. And also, in some extent, I think 1,000-year-old is a tradition, ahimsa, and religious harmony. So, since you are most populated democratic country, so you must succeed. And these small sort of, or say, drawbacks, right? Mistakes, we should not take for granted, right? We should not neglect. We must seriously look at this problem and address, right, seriously. Then the other minorities, because of overall India sort of system like that, so each one have freedom, equality, right? So the minority, I think important is minority themselves. I happily mentioned like Ladakh, recently decades, I think much developed. Modern education, meanwhile, preservation of your own traditional values, including Buddhist faith, and also keep genuine harmony among Ladakhi Muslim, Ladakhi Christian, Ladakhi Buddhist. Wonderful. And similarly, these some other areas, those minority people, now they themselves also, you see, through their hard work, now developing that way. So it is a very healthy way. So that's all. Thank you. So now I have more time and I can spend more energy on these two fields, promotion of human values and the promotion of also religious harmony, because now the political responsibility about Tibet, now I already resigned, relinquished. But still, I am His Holiness Dalai Lama. So actually, I want to share with some of my old friends here that, I sort of always expressing religious institution and the political institution must be separate. So last few decades, while I am speaking that way, I myself combine. So that's in a way hypocrisy, isn't it? So now, which I saying other people, now I fully committed or implement. Then the global level, I always sort of believe world belongs to humanity, not kings and queens or like that, or religious leaders. Then each country belongs to their people. Like India. India belongs to Indian people. About over 1 billion Indian people. Not this party, or that Raja, or that Rajanirve, like that. Similarly, China, the huge country, most populated nation. Basically, China belongs to Chinese people. 1.3 billion Chinese people, not Communist Party. If Communist Party genuinely, freely support through vote, then different matter. But just through sheer power, gun, difficult. So China is changing. So they govern your own country by the people. The best system is democratic system. So my dream, almost since my childhood, I want to change our sort of system. Even when I was in Tibet, I really saw a lot of sort of things because of the backward way or drawbacks. Then after we reach India, we start work for democratization. Since 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Since then, my position is semi-retired position. Now, after 10 years passed, Tibetan community also, I think, got experience choosing their own leader through vote, through election. And people very much sort of enthusiastic. People get sort of sense of involvement. So I feel very happy. So now this is the right time to change. The almost 4-century-old tradition, the Dalai Lama institution, is head of both temple and spirituality. Now that must end. But the way end that, not due to pressure, but voluntarily, proudly, happily ended. I feel this is one of my achievements. Since my age 16, I took the responsibility. Now 76-year-old. For the last 60 years, difficult period, I served. Now, as an old man, old monk, it is my own right to retire. Isn't it? So as a believer of life after life, so I have to make some preparation about my next life. Okay. Thank you. Now some question and answer. I will sit there.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness. Now we will have the interactive.
Violence, its very nature of violence is unpredictable. Once you committed violence, then another violence, counter-violence, go like that. And I think we have many, many examples on the world affair. Since violence involves a lot of unexpected sort of consequences always happen. Gandhiji carried struggle of India's independence through non-violent. And then recently, South Africa, under the leadership of Nelson Mandela and also Bishop Tutu. In spite of their early period or one thing there, but then later they truly followed non-violent way. So after they got independence, real democracy, comparatively much smooth, very good. Come on, the British also. Deputy High Commissioner or something. So just I want to express to you, it's just last few days some sort of sad things in London. When I heard that through BBC, I really shocked and surprised. I consider England or Britain quite a matured nation. And law-abiding, peaceful. So, frankly speaking, if such things happen in Bangladesh or Karachi or these things, then I feel, so this is quite understandable. But in England, in London, I really felt a little sort of real sad. So I think now, since you are here, I really feel, of course I have no direct responsibility, no direct sort of contact, connection, but I'm a human being. So therefore, I hope, now this instance, I think you should, as a government or concerned people, should carry more sort of research. There are many different sort of courses, but I think study thoroughly. Then, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think education, in the field of education, I think some relations. So you need long-term sort of strategy to answer these problems. So that, of course, sorry. The rest of the audience is no direct connection. Yes.
The next question is from Margarita Stanky from the Wall Street Journal. The question is, how will the coming to power of Dr. Losam Sangye as Tibetan Prime Minister in exile change your engagement with political issues relating to Tibet?
He already stated that the basic sort of way of approach, midway of approach, he will follow continuously. And also he ready to talk with Chinese officials. He mentioned that. So same.
There is a Prema Sridevi from
But actually, we usually describe our administration as the Tibetan Central Secretariat. Formally, we never use the word of exile government or prime minister. One occasion in Delhi, my meeting with some big Indian media people, one our friend, a staunch supporter about the Tibetan independent movement. He described our elected political leadership as a prime minister. I immediately made correction. We never use the word of prime minister. It's simply political leadership, like that.
There is a question posed by Prema Sridevi of Times Now News Channel. She asks, His Holiness Dalai Lama's envoy, Dalai Lama, was arrested by Nepal police while Dalai Lama was addressing problems of Tibetan refugees. Do you think Nepal is becoming more hostile towards Tibetan refugees because of Chinese influence? Your thoughts and feelings after envoy Dalai Lama's arrest?
I think better to ask Losang Sangye. Spiritually, Nepal, Tibet, something like brothers, sisters, very close link. But these particular thing, I think more political nature. I think better to ask our political leadership.
There's a question from Justice M.N. Rao, Chairman, National Committee for Backward Classes, Government of India. He asks, when the demand is only for provincial autonomy, why a government in exile for Tibetans in India?
Obviously, there are about 100,000 Tibetan refugee communities here. They are also in Europe, many countries in Europe, and also in America, North America, and Canada, and United States, and also in some Tibetan in Arab area, like some Arabian countries. There are some Tibetans, mainly Tibetan Muslims, Muslim Tibetan there. So we have the responsibility to look after them. Oh, what happened? Then here, like in India, our main sort of task and responsibility to give modern education, plus our own traditional education and value. So there must be some central organization, and then also look after Tibetan settlement. So there must be some organization. So we are carrying these words, and also real our boss is 6 million Tibetan people inside Tibet, but they have no. But you see, they have no sort of opportunity to express what they are feeling. No freedom. Every sort of expression, slightest sort of resentment, house arrest, sometimes serious sort of torture, like that. So therefore, we are very helpful Tibetan in a free country. We have to carry their wish or their voice. Yeah. So, therefore, we have to work these things for we organize our own sort of facility, organization, like that. Yes?
Zia Haq from Hindustan Times asks, His Holiness, how to solve the problem of terrorism, particularly what some people call Islamic terror?
Oh, if you really want to Islamic terror, then ask those Muslims. You should not say that way. Unfortunately, in recent years, some media, and even I think some sort of writers, create impression Islam tradition itself something a little bit militant type. But totally wrong, unfair. Since 2000, since September 11th event, the anniversary, the first year anniversary, I was in Washington. In Washington, I think National Cathedral, some sort of big sort of meeting took place. They invited me. So at that sort of the occasion, I expressed some sort of mischievous people, background Muslim. Due to that, generalize whole Islam is unfair. Some mischievous people in all traditions, among the Christians, among the Hindus, among the Buddhists, among Jews, even among Tibetan Buddhists, also some mischievous people there. So that, you see, cannot sort of represent the main sort of the believer or the tradition. So I think the word to the Islamic terrorism, I think that's not good. Some sort of mischievous people. So in any way, so firstly, then I think this connection, another sort of point, 1,000-year-old, each tradition, the concept of one religion, one truth. That sometimes, you see, people really, you see, some people really believe, and also I think due to lack of awareness, the other tradition. I think India, much better. 1,000 years, take for granted, there are so many different traditions there. Otherwise, like Tibetan, and previously, we remain isolated, except a few Muslims, I think a few hundred Muslims there, I think last 4 centuries. So we quite, we know Muslim community, their God, Allah, and they have their own sort of way of prayer and certain things. Except that, very little contact with outside world. So then, almost you see, concept of one truth, one religion, Buddhism, Muslim. That kind of feel, due to lack of awareness, lack of contact. After we came to India, new opportunity, meeting with people from different traditions, and actually exchange their sort of inner experiences. Immense help to understand the other tradition. So philosophical field, there's big differences. It is necessary because there are people who have different mental disposition. So therefore, it is necessary, different way of approach. But the important is what the real message, what is the real purpose of this different philosophy? The same. Practice of karuna, practice of metta, or compassion, or kindness, and with that, the practice of tolerance, practice of forgiveness. So here, forgiveness, I sort of telling the people, I think sin and the sinner, one example. God, I think, always loved sinner. But God never sort of loved sin. So we can make distinction, sin and sinner. So, like the people who involve violence, as far as their action, violence is concerned, we have to oppose fully, thoroughly. But the actor of violence, we must
show our affection, our concern. And they work opposing their wrong action out of sense of compassion, sense of concern of well-being of those people who committed violence. So that's the way, I think, easier to understand sin and sinner. God always gives sort of forgiveness. Sin. But sin is concerned, always sort of oppose. Clear. So that's the real meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean you accept others' sort of wrongdoing. And in order to carry sort of countermeasure, does not mean we keep hatred or anger towards them. No, that's important. So, these problems, as I already mentioned, you see, they're long, very complex sort of thing. So, very much literally. Oh yes, I'm not telling you, see, the concept of one truth, one religion. Now, for one individual practitioner, the concept of one truth, one religion is important. That brings single-pointed faith. It's very good, very important. But in the terms of community, in the terms of humanity, there are already, last 1,000 years, already many different religions, many different faiths already there. If you sort of ignore that, it's unrealistic ignorance. You must accept the reality. So there are so many different religions there. So several religions already there. So now we must make a distinction. In individual case, one concept of one truth, one religion, very relevant. In the terms of community, concept of several truth, several religion is very relevant. So no problem. Now here, this whole individual, yes, still very relevant. One truth, one religion. But in the terms of this group of people, in the whole, already there are different religious sort of practitioners there. So already the reality is already exists several religions, several truth, already there. So that also I think is important in order to create closer understanding with mutual respect, mutual appreciation, in order to promote religious harmony. I think India can, I think, lead the promotion of religious harmony. I often see telling, I think I think you, my spiritual brother, is Baya, I think you already know. I, as a sort of chela of India, or messenger of India, so my own level as a messenger of India, I am quite active regarding promoting religious harmony. Now time come, my boss, that's you Indian, this is my boss. Now my boss must be more active promoting religious harmony. Otherwise, you see, boss looks very holy, doing nothing. And I, as a small person here, messenger, a student of India, running here and there and talking. And some people may say, this is Dalai Lama's own creation. No, this is India's tradition. I'm carrying India's tradition. So now my boss, Indian, must be more active, whether government level or whether individual level, she must be more active. Show the world that religious harmony is possible. India, 1,000 years, we follow that. Recently, I was in Jaipur, or Rajasthan. I think, Jodhpur. I met one European, he introduced me, he's a Romanian. He carried some research about India's sort of harmony of religions. Then he told me he visited one village in Jaipur, Rajasthan, Muslim community, Muslim village. Only 3 Hindu families he found, but only 3 Hindu families in quite big sort of Muslim village. You see, no fear, very friendly. He's surprised. He told me like that. So that's India's tradition. It actually exists, not just word, or a mere word, but actually it exists. Now this, you see, further sort of promote these things, and then tell world. If may I say so, I think among the Muslim brothers sisters, you see, sometimes you see between Shia and the Sunni, some unnecessary sort of problems there. So Indian Muslim, one occasion in Ladakh, I asked when Ladakhi Sunni and Shia come together to see me, so I told them, oh, now you, here Shia and Sunni, live, no problem, together. So now this spirit must show those Muslim countries, those Muslim brothers, sisters, who remain a little bit distant each other. I think the Indian Muslim, I think should take Kasota, more active in this field. That's how I feel. What do you think?